Awesome, awesome. Welcome, Temple family. It's your boy, Mr. Frederick Morton Jr., CEO, founder of Temple Networks, and I'm privileged to be here with you today. We've been letting you know that we had a very special guest on our live today. We've been doing these lives, and they've been extraordinary. Again, I want to big up Arita Worldwide. She's been doing these lives and with Grams Morgan and Itana and a whole bunch of different artists, and it's been going beautifully well. But today we get to speak to an industry icon, a living legend.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
yes, yes, Yvette, take it.
Like we say
Take,
at home, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. What is that?
yes, all of them, and Moses and everybody else, right? You deserve it. You deserve it. She has done some incredible work over her lifetime, and really deserves all the accolades that I could possibly provide here. This is Miss Yvette Noel Schure. She is a celebrity publicist to the stars, some of the biggest stars in the world. So stars like Beyonce, yeah. She has worked with John Legend, David Bowie, Prince, and the list goes on. Just too numerous to mention. But even any one of those is enough. And so her catalog of artists that she has participated in the elevation of their career is just extraordinary. And what's even more extraordinary is she comes from the Caribbean, which is why right, which is even the greatest thing for us. She is from the Spice Isle of Grenada. We're going to get into a lot of things in a moment, but let me, without further ado, welcome you, Yvette, to Temple Family and to Temple Online.
Well, thank you. Hello to everybody that's tuned in, logged in, whatever. I just want to make one correction. Although I was at Columbia Records when David Bowie was a performer there, I didn't work with him. I did get to meet him, yeah. But my claim to fame is that I'm his biggest fan. I was.
Okay.
I still remain his biggest fan. Yeah, but sadly,
Okay.
I never got to work with him.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, listen, the names that you have worked with are as legendary as David Bowie, and so we will accept the fact that you didn't work with David Bowie, but it really is not even, it doesn't even matter at this point, right? But welcome again. As I mentioned at the top of this is not going to really be an interview. We talk, and we talk all the time, and we talk frequently. And when we talk, we always talk about the elevation of the Caribbean, and we always talk about positive things. And so what this is going to be is a discussion, just like I picked up the phone and I said, Yvette, I have an idea or I have something to talk about. That's what we're going to do today. Is that all right with you?
That's good. I just want to make sure my eye is right. I don't know if I'm watching you on my Zoom or if I'm watching you on my IG. So I'm not quite sure where to look.
It's so funny. You're doing well because you're actually hitting both of them right now. Like, I feel like you're watching me.
All right. Awesome.
I feel like you're taking care of the folks on the IG. So you're like perfect right now. I have been advised of one technical issue. So lower the volume on your phone. Just lower the volume on the phone. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, there's no volume.
There's no? Okay.
The volume is completely, I can turn it off.
No.
Don't turn it off. Okay.
Is there what's the particular issue? There's an echo.
Maybe it's the volume. It's too high up on my. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I took the volume off the computer.
Okay, all right. And is that better? Okay, all right.
Is that better for Phil? Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm told that's better. Okay, all right. Well, fantastic. Well, let's get into it. First of all, we are in the middle of a global crisis, the pandemic, and it's really changed so much for all of us. How are you? Let's start there. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well now.
Okay.
This is the 10th week, and my daughter Mika will probably be upset that I'm still counting the weeks. But
Oh,
I've always been the person that I make notes, I make lists, I scratch things off. It's how I keep myself sane. And no matter what I have to do, if I have to travel in October, I'm already packed in August, and I have a list of, I'm taking 8 white t-shirts, I'm taking 3 pairs of sandals. That's just how I am. So
right.
10 weeks in, I think I'm doing much better than I expected to do. I didn't give myself much, I didn't have much confidence in myself after the second week.
Wow.
Second week was hard for me. I lost my footing the second week. I felt doom. I had entered doomsday, and I just felt overwhelmed by work and the purpose of work. You know, as the death toll escalated and so much false information was coming back and forth, and I'm a news junkie, and I was obsessed with the news, and I was falling asleep 4 or 5 in the morning to the repeated broadcasts of CNN. And then finally, when I got myself together and I said, I'm not going to do that, I will be very selective when I let the news come into my circle. And then I made another list, not just the dates and the days that are counting, but I made a list of people that I wanted to reach out to after I had gone through what I call my little breakdown in my closet. I thought someone else that I know is going through that too, that emotional sort of confusion. And so I made a list, and I have about 200, it's probably up to about 250 people now that I use various methods to check in on, a text here, a WhatsApp there, a video call there. You know, I prefer to hear their voices, so I prefer the video call or phone call. But in the middle of something like this, I could pull up my phone and just text somebody, because I'm just like, I didn't think about them last week. I didn't reach out last week. Let me check on them this week. So that's what's been keeping me going. And also, you know, my work. We're kind of working around the clock. I think everybody is 24 hours a day to keep ourselves from just keep on keeping on.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, well, so it's I'm okay now. I'm okay now, and thank you for asking. Now I'm jealous of you because, of course, you know, you do have sunshine all the time in Trinidad, where you just so conveniently happen to get stuck in Trinidad. But okay, how are you doing? Truly, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well too. I mean, we're all adjusting, and much like you, it took a little minute to adjust. The whole stay at home, and like you said, I guess it was convenient. Yeah. It just happened to happen that I am in the Caribbean at the moment, and not in New York, New Jersey area where I would normally be.
Yeah.
But it turned out well because I'm here with family, and that changes everything. And you know, thankfully, and we're going to talk about this in a bit. Thankfully, the Caribbean has done, and its leadership has done really well in managing this crisis. You know, sometimes we look at the leading nations and we follow their lead, but in some respects, the smaller countries of the world have done quite a bit, you know, better in some respects. So Trinidad is among them. So I'm good. You know, the staff is working at home, from home. We're all settling in. You know, one of the big things that I think we're learning from this is that a lot of the work that we think needed to be done in the office can actually be done at home. So that's a good thing as well, you know? So there's good and bad that comes from the pandemic. And we all that we're hoping for is that we're better people and we come to better processes after it's over.
And that we're kinder.
And we're kinder.
You know, kind has always been, everyone who knows me knows that I push kindness. I talk about kindness all the time. I think it's a good 4-letter word, kind. And you know, I'm hopeful that after all of this, that we will all prescribe to being kinder to each other.
That's exactly right. Right. I agree. I agree.
And go back
Well,
to our Caribbean ways, you know, even a simple
absolutely.
thing as good morning to someone makes a
Yeah.
difference in their lives.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. You know, and those phone calls that you talked about, you know, sort of creating that list, which was really wonderful of you. And just going through that list, I spoke to so many people that I haven't caught up with in a long, long time. And,
Oh, it's
you know,
important. I
just
mean,
check it.
the joy you bring people when you actually just you just say to
Check
them,
in.
"How you doing?" They're like, "What?" You know.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's a
I
good thing.
agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad you're good, and I assume that the family is good. I know David is doing his part,
He's
keeping you
churning
safe, right?
away. He's just churning away.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Okay. So let's jump right in. Let's talk a little bit about your. You know what? I was going to start with your personal background, but let's start with your professional background.
Okay.
Give us a sense of your. I mean, everybody knows that you're a celebrity publicist extraordinaire, but give us a sense of how you got there educationally and your sort of current position. Give us a sense of that, and then we'll jump off from that.
So I'm a publicist, not a celebrity publicist. I'm a
Well, whatever.
publicist who happened to work with some clients who are pretty much famous and have gotten, they are celebrities, but I am definitely not a celebrity. I still think of myself as just a hardworking Caribbean girl, Grenadian girl. I kind of boring in how it all happened because I think I sort of followed all the rules, you know, came to America at 14 and pretty much knew that I wanted to be a writer. And so I ended up going to school for journalism and becoming a magazine writer, magazine editor, and then somehow ended up from hard news to music entertainment and got a call. Actually, I made a call sort of, you know, complaining that I didn't get some music. It was Mariah's music. And I've told the story probably 1,000 times. And
Okay.
Larry
Great story.
Jenkins, you know, who was running Columbia Records said, "You have a lot of passion in your voice. Come on, Yvette, give us a chance. We're looking for a publicist. Do you want to come and be one?" I'm like, "Are you joking? Publicists are crazy. No, no, I don't want to do that." But I respected him enough to go up and, you know, have that conversation with him. And he hired me on the spot. And I ended up spending 17 years at Columbia, you know, but in a time when the height of music, the height of Black music, but the height of music in terms of consumption was elevated. You know, everything from Mariah, Destiny's Child. At that point, the urban department of Columbia Records was signing such amazing artists. You know, I think we had like this meeting outside of the city. I think we went to Georgia or something, and in like one night's concert, it was Alicia Keys, Maxwell, Kenny Lattimore, the Fugees, and Destiny's Child. I was like, whoa, what is happening? You know, we knew they were special, but we didn't, looking back now, we were like, we were there, you know? So it was amazing being a part of that. And then, like I said, I must have spent 17 years there and then just left. Wow. Like with no real plans. Very unlike what a Caribbean girl should do.
Yeah, before you go to the next phase, you said that you just sort of, you know, music was not necessarily a part of your life at that moment, or was it?
No.
It wasn't. So you because you're so good at it, it must have, you know, maybe it was a part of your life and you didn't know.
Well, I mean, I loved music, but I mean, I grew up in Grenada at a time where you segmented when you're supposed to listen to what kind of music, right? So
That's true.
it wasn't the way it is now, where soca was played all the time. Soca at that point when I was growing up, from what I remember, was very seasonal. And then they would go to all kinds of other music. You'd hear everything from all over the world, from England especially, was on the radio. And you'd hear old soca, but like the soca that was going for road march and stuff was literally leading up to Carnival. And I obviously Bob Marley and all that stuff, listening to Jimmy Cliff and that. But in terms of buying music and owning music, oh no,
not really.
That wasn't in the cards for me at all. But I knew I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to join the Peace Corps and go and cover hard news in war-torn countries, because I saw movies and they looked so cool and dangerous. And then I was like, whoa, I can't do that. Not with my sensitivity crying about everything. I can't do that.
You wouldn't last in that one, right?
I wasn't going to be good at that. No. But when the opportunity to go into music came, it first came for Black Beat, for me to write about music people. So that was a good sort of, entrance into it. And learning publicity was very difficult, because you can't assume because you love words and you're a good writer that you automatically could become a publicist. So I had some very difficult days, but I was part of an incredible team of publicists, and every single person gave advice and pulled you along and shared their list and, introduced you to the people you need to know. This is so-and-so from the New York Times, and this is so-and-so.
Right.
Yeah. So it was, I was learning as I was going, but I was also very blessed to have just some incredible artists from day one. I mean, I walked into Sony and I was given Mariah Carey. She was the biggest artist on that label in 1993. And I was just like, all my conspiracy theories was in my head that they're just trying to sabotage me. Why would they give me the biggest artist on the label?
Quite the contrary. They were giving it to you because of what they saw in terms of your potential.
They threw me in the river. They threw me in the current in the river, and I fought my way through it, and I swam.
Awesome. Yeah. And so then you left Sony, and I know that you started your own company. Tell us a little bit about that. Actually, before you do that, let me tell the viewers that there is an amazing story that goes into detail, much more detail that we can on this live, called Caribbean Dream. It is a brand new series by Tempo, and many of you have seen it already, and probably have seen some of the amazing words of inspiration that Yvette provided during that series. But if you haven't, go check it out. It's Caribbean Dream. It'll go into much more detail than we can here on the live. And you can get that on the app, or you just tune into Tempo and you see Caribbean Dream. Okay, now back to... I
actually decided to wear yellow today because the last time we were together in Grenada filming what's coming up, I wore yellow. So I was like, let me just continue this.
Look at that. And see, that's the thoughtfulness. You're right. And see, the last time we Yvette and I was together, we were actually in Grenada. It was an amazing time. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. It's her homecoming episode of Caribbean Dream, and that is going to be aired shortly. And it was a remarkable 7 days of Yvette reconnecting in a very, very, what can I say, extraordinary way.
A lot of tears.
Yeah. So you're going to hear a lot more about that. But tell me about Independence Day, when you left Sony and you became independent and you started your own business, because so much comes along with those types of decisions.
I'm honestly telling you that I didn't. I don't know that I had a plan. Maybe my husband was going to plan to talk me into something, but really I felt like I needed a break. It had been 17 years of learning and exploring and being a part of some major releases, but the backdrop of my life was that my dad was ill for the most of the time that I was at Sony. The whole time I was at Sony, my father was hospitalized after a series of strokes. And so I think finally, you know, now that I look back at it, I just think I got a message from the Most High that said, you know, it's time for you to leave and spend a little bit of time with your dad, even though I didn't know it at that point, because my dad died later that year. But I think it was also the Almighty saying, Yvette, you are complacent. You're not challenging yourself. You're good at this, but there's something else waiting for you, and you're not living up to your potential. You're not living up to the dreams of your ancestors. You're not. You paused, you know, and so I had to go back a few steps in order to go further. So when I left, I didn't have a plan.
You didn't have a plan. You know, that's interesting. I remember, well, as you know, my background is in law, and like you on the publicity side, I was fortunate enough to rise pretty far in the legal profession. And I remember that I was at Simpson Thacher, which is one of the biggest firms in the world in New York, and a young Black lawyer, you know, just sort of, you know, wondering, you know, why folks were paying attention to me. You know, and realizing that, you know, I was moving very nicely, but something was still missing. Just like you said, something was still missing. And so much like you, I took a moment and I thought about that, and I jumped off of all of that. And you know, I took a sojourn into Viacom and all of that stuff, but it was you know, a sort of stepping stone to what I'm doing now, which is more purposeful in a sense. So I understand exactly what you're talking about.
It's the bravest thing. It's the bravest thing to do. It's literally the bravest thing to do when you're at the top and you say, there might be an even better view if I start this journey over. And I never thought I could be this brave, but
you were. Sony
was a dream job and dream people, and so many of them are still in my life, which is the amazing thing. Awesome. And I get to work with them every day still, which is amazing.
Well, that's great. So you own your own company, Schure Media.
Yes. And I co-own my company. I am sharing it with a man named David Schure. It's lovely. It's lovely. It's lovely to be that, to be in that position that this is ours. And, you know, certainly it's fueled by the work we do for our clients. But it's ours. If it wins, we win. If it fails, we fail, and we pay the taxes.
That's right.
Taxes,
Uncle Sam. You know. Well, with that, you know, let's talk about that a little bit, because you know, it's so fortunate to be in business for yourself and to be an entrepreneur. It's not an easy road, but it is a road that, if you are passionate and persistent, and you know, it can become a very rewarding road to take. And it particularly is rewarding, I suppose, and I have a sense of that when you can actually share it with and build a sort of a family business, share it with someone that you really love and care for. It changes the entire dynamics. Is that right?
I love it. In the very beginning, oh, honey, you couldn't give me $1 million to work with my husband. I was like, no, I want him to remain my husband. I don't want him to be my business partner at all.
Right.
And my best girlfriend, she is from Antigua.
Right.
And she's
Antigua,
one of the most brilliant people I know. Man, she put me, sit down. Girl, you know you have the smartest man in your house.
Oh, wow.
What's wrong with you? You need that man to take over the business. You're good at some things, but you're not good at this.
Look at that.
You know, like I was beginning to send in my invoices. I was just about publicity and wasn't looking at, the business part of it, and the best decision ever made, the best push I ever had. I actually have two girlfriends that pushed me, but one's from Trinidad.
Okay.
But this one, the Antiguan, was like really persistent.
Right.
So it's once you sort of put all of that aside, it's still not easy all the time because we don't really see eye to eye on how to do certain things. And I think we have agreed that he will run this part of the business and I will run that part of the business. And then, so when we come together in the kitchen, it's not about your media group. It's just David and Yvette.
Right.
But every day, it's a struggle. You lose clients, you gain clients, I have some long-standing clients, but for the most part, if you're an independent publicity firm, it's based on projects and, somebody needs you for 3 months, somebody needs you for 6 months, someone needs you for a year. I'm blessed to have had some really long-standing clients or clients who go and come, which is fine too. But for the most part,
Right.
it's a month, you're just like,
hustle. It's a hustle. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of folks
like that. I like that hustle a little bit,
The hustle is great. A lot of folks don't realize it. One of your clients has a song that says that they look at the glitter and they look at the gold, but they don't know what's going on behind the whole situation.
Exactly. I always say show business is very little show.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's true.
You have to do a lot of business to get to the show.
Yeah. That's true. Well, okay. So I wanted to, we spent a fair amount of time on this because I thought it was important, even though we don't have a lot of time on the live, to let folks know, what your background was, both, professionally and personally. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time now just saying, how does a Caribbean girl from Birch Grove
people. I hope Birch Grove people are on.
Yes. How does a Caribbean girl from Birch Grove, Grenada, get to that seat? Get to work with Beyonce, John Legend, Prince, and keep those types of clients in their lives for the entirety. How does that happen?
It happens with hard work. It happens by being honest.
Great answer.
It happens by people trusting you. It's happened for me because I've learned to exercise balance, prioritizing my family, but still working very, very hard for my clients. I think I've built their trust, and for a girl who loves to talk and loves to be a part of any beautiful conversation, I've also mastered what to say and what not to say. When to say it. I have to disseminate someone's narrative. And that is built into a marketing plan that has dates and other arms and legs attached to it, and giving away information too early destroys the plan and is disrespectful of all the other people, all of the marketers that have worked so incredibly long to come up with a creative and an innovative plan that should work seamless so that you connect the dots and appreciate content and art the way they want you to, as an even sort of playing field to make sure everybody gets it at the same time, or, so, if I have to be that keeper of the flame, if I have to be that protector, I always say, what I am still starts with P, but it's not really always a publicist. It's a protector.
Right.
I think, how did I come from Birch Grove to do that? I think that the hard work came from my grandparents and my aunts and my uncles. the ability to gain someone's trust came from my grandmother saying to me, even if someone is crying and bleeding in front of you, tell them the truth. Tell them the truth at all costs. Tell them the truth. You may have to wipe them up afterwards, but
right.
Tell them the truth. A lie will hurt them so much more than the truth.
Well, let me ask you a little bit about that then. We're going to go back to Grenada and whether it was the mangoes you love so much, really.
I should have had a mango right now. I should have had some kind of Haitian mango or some little starchy right now.
Yeah, we both should. I actually had some mangoes just yesterday, so I wish I could have provided you with one, but
my cousin, who I call my little nephew, sent me a box of Haitian mangoes, so I've been having them a lot, and then another friend shipped me some from Miami, so I'm good. I got some good mangoes.
All right, excellent. But what I was going to ask you is that when you say the truth, right, in this business of music, the truth is normally a hard pill to swallow, but in this business of music, have you ever had to tell, an artist or someone, who has their eyes set on something that might not be attainable? I say might because there's so many outliers. Some, talent isn't enough in this business, and there's some really talented people that will never make it, and there's some moderately talented people that will excel to the top. So there's these factors that we can't really control. But that said, I mean, do you have to? Is the truth sometimes that, look, I don't really think this is for you, or maybe you can't be the artist in front, but you could be this. Have you ever had those types of conversations?
I've had those conversations, but it's usually with people who haven't been signed yet, and they're looking for some advice on direction. I don't know if I will ever tell someone that that's not for you, because we don't know. We don't know how some people get in and others don't. And if that light is about to shine on that person, I am not bringing the darkness to them in any way. I am not doing that. I am not a dream breaker at all.
Yeah.
But I will say to people how I'm hearing things. I will say, you sound off key on this. And I probably don't have the greatest ears in the world, but I think what you're going to need, because you're so passionate about that, is to get someone to train you, like voice training, or just offer them all of the tools that they're going to need to go after their craft. Now, when it comes to clients and telling the truth, if a client has an incredible song and I don't like the song, I'm going to say, it's not my cup of tea, but I'm not going to tell everybody else that's a bad song. I'm just like, it doesn't really do anything for me. Well, let me tell you something. You want the world to be convinced of that song? I'm your mouthpiece. But when I say the truth, I talk about, making the wrong decisions about things, saying the wrong things that will come back and haunt you, particularly in this digital space where you can't take it back. It never gets erased. Just sort of having that open dialogue that you don't owe anybody your personal life. You just owe them what they pay for, which is essentially your art. Right? So if you're a musician, make sure you in your heart feel you've delivered the greatest album, or you've put on the greatest performance. But it's not important for them to know who your lover is or what kind of diet you're on. That's something that if you want to control it, if you want to let it out, that's you. But
that's interesting.
Because, I think that you should, people do have to sort of fall in love with you, something about you, to sort of commit to your art. And sometimes they fall in love with your art and they're like, I don't like the way he talks or whatever, but wow, this art is amazing, right? So it comes in both ways. But I'm saying, an artist should not really be obsessed with what someone is going to say about you, because in this social media age,
that's what I was getting at.
Your power lies between your fingers and a phone. And people take that power and they write things that could completely destroy people. If you scroll down and you believe that, you will give up your dreams. So I'm telling my clients, don't scroll down. Don't believe that. You know, don't believe that. For example, you have an album that comes out. 8 reviews are incredible. 1 is terrible. Please don't go sulking over that one.
Right.
You know, listen to the more positive voices, make those the louder voice. The truth is, the loudest voice should be the one in your head. Like, you should be the loudest voice, you know. You should be saying, I'm good at this. I know I'm good at this. Right. And so that when someone comes at you like this, you can be like, I know I did my best work.
Right,
so, you know, I think I approach publicity a little bit the way I kind of do the same in my role as motherhood.
I was about to say, it sounds like, it has sort of a motherly approach to
I truly care. I care about these artists. Artists aren't made of cement and water. They're flesh and blood. They're people. You know, so they've got feelings, they get hurt, and you know, I'm not here to break someone's heart, but I'm certainly going to tell you the truth and I'm going to advise you. But I also have another side of my head that goes, if an artist sees this, they hear it like that, that's how they want that camera there. Fight for them to get that camera there, because their brain sees something, and by the time they decipher what's happening there and explain it to you, they're trusting that you could execute that plan. Do your best to execute that plan. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But when someone has a vision, they do need a believer.
Right.
They do need a believer.
Understood. Well, I mean, listen, well said. I mean, right now, the pandemic is wreaking havoc in all sorts of industries, and particularly in the creative industries, right? And so artists are normally seeking all sorts of ways to advance. And one of the major ways that they do so, as you know, is through live performances. And this is particularly true, as you know, for Caribbean artists, right? Unfortunately, we're not at a place where the industry is so fully developed that streaming is feeding the pockets of artists or any, you know, endorsements or ancillary sources of revenues. It's all about getting a hit song in the region, and then as it relates to soca in particular, going to carnivals all around the world. Well, all of that came to a screeching halt, as you know, for 2020, right? And so we are hearing some really dismal stories about, you know, how this is impacting the lives of our creative community, particularly musicians. And you know, I was mentioning to you off camera at some point that at least one artist, I believe it was on Arita's live, said that, look, you know, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. I used to work in the hotel industry. There's no more hotels, so I can't even do entertainment at the hotels, right? Because they shut down. This was a couple of weeks back. So things are, you know, are going to come back in, but they won't come back in full force for sure. So so all these folks are trying to figure it out. What advice can you give to folks during this period of time, particularly connected to what you're hearing on the international side? You know, what are international artists doing, and how can, you know, our amazing creative community respond to this pandemic? Tell us what's on your mind in that way.
Well, you know, I don't think there is a international or a local or Caribbean reaction in the art world that's different from each other. I think it's all the same, you know.
Okay.
Music in particular, obviously we talk about art, we talk about museums and those kinds of things, but in music, you know, music is a lifestyle for so many in the Caribbean, not just the artists themselves, but the vendors that are a big part of Carnival and all of the months leading up to Carnival. It ties into
Yes, indeed.
our economy, into our tourism. You know, our hotels and our restaurants, you know, rely on so many
Yep.
people carnival hopping, you know, particularly the ones that are around August, where I think there might have been 3 or 4 weeks of carnival where people just jump from
Oh
island.
yeah.
It's a very
And
difficult time.
internationally,
Yeah,
UK, Canada. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, Florida, you know, England, there's carnival all over. I think someone was telling me
absolutely.
there's a carnival in Germany, and you know, there's
Yeah.
so. First thing I want to say to the artists, particularly the ones in the Caribbean, because you know the kind of music we're talking about, soca and carnival, calls for for an experience. It calls for people. It calls for people
Yeah.
hugging and dancing close
Mhm.
and whining and juking and all the stuff. And that experience is gone.
That's the
And
truth.
frankly, I dance a lot in my closet, but it's always better to jump and wave with someone else, right?
With that
So
spice flag in your
that
hand.
has
Right.
gone for now, and it's a very difficult thing. But I think what I want to say to the artists is that they should hold on to their dream, and they should keep being creative, even if no one is going to immediately experience it. They need to be archiving their creativity. They need to, you know, pull out pen and paper, write lyrics. Maybe you don't have all of your staff, the engineers and everybody like that to help you go into the studio yet. You've got the program on your computer, recorded on your computer. It's not going to be polished. It's not going to be right yet, but keep creating, because what they have is so special. It's such a gift. They can't just give up. Now I know doing that doesn't bring in an EC
Income.
dollar, a Trini
Yeah,
dollar.
income.
You know, I know that doesn't. But I think one of the things that the Caribbean islands artists have to think about now, while this is going on, is when you do all the creating, whether it's 3 hours, 5 hours a day, just think about some of the other things you can do for the island where you are. Like what, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
what's in harvest? What do we want to like come up with a different hobby? Do we want to figure out what are those trees in the backyard doing? Should we figure out how to use that and save the money we have, instead of buying all of those you know, horrible bleached food? Should we eat from the soil more and save what we have? Can we come up with a coalition of artists around the region, and figure out, you know, they should do these kind of conversations with each other and sort of tap into each other's resources in terms of creativity as well as funds, you know, and then I think what is going to be amazing coming out of this for artists and for all of us in the Caribbean would be to come out of this not thinking of ourselves only as Grenadian or only as someone from St. Kitts or Nevis or Trinidad or St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Barbados. We have to start thinking of ourselves as one Caribbean.
Right.
You know,
You
the
know, I'm
United Islands, you know, whatever it is we want to
absolutely.
call ourselves, because we don't know where we're heading yet. I'm not an expert. I don't know what's going to happen. But let's say it calls for us to come back, but not for international to come back, right? So we could stay within
Okay.
our borders and we can't really travel all around. We're going to need those neighbors more than ever, more than ever. And at some point, if they open it up to say, okay, we can go from island to island, hopefully we have some resources that we've accumulated during this time that Grenada has, that maybe Trinidad doesn't have, or, you know,
Right.
and let's start trading between our islands until we could figure out what else. But for the artists, I think they just have to keep creating, and I think they have to keep in touch with the creative community, and use the social media platform as much as possible to keep connected to their audiences, whether it's live concerts or just conversations. Alison Hines has done a tremendous job keeping me excited and keeping me as her fan, because she balances it with a little bit of throwback music, with her Allison Says, I can't remember, I might be messing up her branding, but she has this beautiful that she puts up, and she, you know, she feeds your music needs, but she also feeds your soul. And I feel like if more people sort of look and see what she's doing, you know, they will follow suit. I am so impressed with her. I'm so impressed. She did this whole thing where she flashed back to Ghana. She had gone to Ghana. She had done videos. She had done performances, and she's like, you know, and there she was doing her Caribbean sound in Africa and showing how much we are alike and where we all come from. I just thought it was beautiful. I literally go and scroll Alison Hines every single day, because I think she's doing it right for Caribbean artists, that, you know, her livelihood is her music. She has found a way to keep her audience engaged.
Right.
Yeah.
Engaged.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Okay, I think that two things that you said I want to explore, because and Ali is a great friend, so big up yourself, Alison Hines. Yeah, she has these alligrams, and she's been with Tempo.
Alligrams, that's what they are.
Yeah, she has these alligrams, and I would agree with you. She's been with Tempo, a part of the Tempo family from day one. In fact, we had her on the very first show in Barbados that Tempo had, along with Rihanna. And it was she's
just awesome. I met her a couple of years ago. I've been a fan, but I met her in British Virgin Island. We were on a panel together, and I'm obsessed with her.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. So listen, we have about 10 minutes on Instagram. So I want to send the Instagram folks over in about 10 minutes to our YouTube platform, Facebook platform. IG folks, we love you. You know, we got about 10 minutes. So, but when it is done and you want to head on over, just go ahead on over to YouTube. You can unmute your Zoom, Yvette, if you want to at this point.
I can.
Oh, wait, hold on 1 second. Well, I was getting that technical, but I might have messed it up. After. Oh, okay. Right, in about 10 minutes, you'll unmute your Zoom when we get off of Instagram, right? So, but one of the things that you said that I thought was really, really on point, among everything that you said that was on point, is that archive. Keep working and archive your work. Now,
archive.
I have
it's all gonna mean something one day. It's all gonna matter. Just keep writing.
Absolutely.
Get that phone in your face. You know, do your voice notes. Get it in there.
I have so many examples of content that we created over years at Tempo, that I didn't know why I was creating it in some instances.
For example,
why I told my team to point the camera in that direction. For example. Yes.
Unbelievable.
Exactly. Should I say it? Like,
okay,
unbelievable.
So let me say it.
So
let me
share it?
Let me boast you up. So everybody knows that Buju just released the single from his upcoming album, and the first song is Memories with John Legend. And Tempo spoke to John Legend in either 2013 or 2014
Yes.
which was years after John and Buju had first worked together on a John Legend song from his album Evolver. And Tempo had the interview with John literally predicting that he will work with Buju again. Like how does that happen? How does that happen?
Divine.
It's just unbelievable. And it is so cool. He was so certain. He's like, oh
yes, we will work again.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. So that's amazing footage.
Yeah.
And it's you know, whether it's 7 or 6 years later, is very on time. Very on time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a little example. You'll get to understand exactly what we mean because we're gonna talk about it and show it. But it's an example of you just never know. So continue writing, continue photographing, continue creating your visuals, continue your creative work, archive it well, know how to retrieve it. Yeah. And I'm telling you, it might be a couple of months later or 7 years later, you'll be surprised. So
see, I don't know if Amazon is, you know, delivering right now to the Caribbean. I know they do, but I don't know if this has stopped. But if they never had like a personal cloud, or if they can get a drive or empty a drive of things they don't need and just like put everything on that, you know, and just sort of, you know, at the end of this, wouldn't it be great to go back and see what you've created in a time of stress, in a time of discomfort, in a time of uncertainty, you know?
Yep, indeed. In fact, you know, I think that there is going to emerge a group of creative people from this that are creating content right now that are going to blow our minds in a couple of years when that stuff is revealed.
Oh, so, on every level, on music, on paintings, on writings, on every level.
Right, I agree. I totally agree. Okay, so I'm being told by the technical folks on Instagram, please go over to YouTube and Facebook for the continued conversation. We're going to log off of Instagram in approximately 5 minutes, okay? So we got 5 more minutes on Instagram. I'm going to remind you again at the 60-second mark.
I hope there's some Grenadians on this.
Yeah.
We see any Grenadian flags. Any flags come up.
What's happening over there? We got some Spice Island people.
Where the Spice people?
I'm getting a big nod. You noticed it spiced up the moment that we clicked on.
Are you saving the Instagram to IGTV?
Yes, we are. Are they talking about mango and coconut water?
Oh gosh, let me put my glasses on so I can see the mango conversation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, man.
Hi, Stace, I see you. Yes, I see a Grenada flag.
Yeah, man. So the whole Caribbean, man. Yeah, and got a lot of artists locked in as well.
That is fantastic. So did you tell them where to go? Is it also, obviously it's Tempo Networks on?
Yeah. Same thing. Tempo Networks is just on the YouTube platform and Facebook. So in about 3 minutes now, we will
tell Philip to save that for me so I can see it on IGTV.
I will. We will. Absolutely. So folks on IGTV, thank you for being there. In about 60 seconds, we'll warn you again, folks. But let's move on to well, actually, you know what? This is a good place. I was going to do this later on, but since we're talking about, you know, what artists are doing and all of that kind of thing, you are working right now with an artist that is so loved in the Caribbean. I don't think he could be any more loved. And one of my faves for sure. I've sent you some clips that we've had of him on Tempo, you know, programs before, and that is of course the guy that is all about destiny, and that is
Mark Myrie. Mark Myrie, better known as Buju Banton.
Exactly.
I'll tell you this quickly. Yeah. I was and always have been.
Hold on 1 second, Yvette. Yvette, hold on.
Okay.
Say bye-bye to Instagram.
Oh, am I saying bye? Bye, Instagram.
Yeah, pick up yourself, Instagram
come
family.
over so we can continue chatting.
Yes, indeed. Come on over to YouTube or Facebook. Okay, but we'll be right here.
YouTube or Facebook.
Yes, indeed, indeed. All right. Okay, so yeah, we're talking about the man himself, Buju. Tell me.
I'm just gonna put the volume up on this. Okay.
Okay, good. All right, awesome, awesome. So yeah, we're talking about the man himself, the big man himself in the business, Buju Banton, Gagaman. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, I was saying that, you know, I have been a Buju fan for a long time, for a very long time. My brothers love him, my sisters, my whole family. I don't think we've ever got together without Buju playing in the background, whether it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, somebody's birthday, there's always Buju. And when there is no Buju, there is Buju with Paris Hammond. You know, there's always Buju.
Of course.
Yeah, but
Buju is somebody.
But the thing is that before last November, when I kind of officially started working with Buju, actually October, because I think the first call with him happened when I was in Grenada with you. Before that, I was in love with Buju's music and a lot of Buju's philosophy. These last 6 months or so, getting to know him, I just absolutely love him. And whether my association with him as his publicist lasts another 6 months, 6 days, 6 years, you won't ever hear me say something bad about Buju Banton. He is honest. He has no filter, which is amazing in this world. He is highly intelligent, knows everything that's happening in the world, and deeply spiritual, cares deeply about Jamaica, but really cares about the entire region and of Africa and of the world, and really wants people, particularly Black and brown people, and anybody who's kind of feel marginalized, indigenous people, to really have a shot, you know? And I think if anybody goes through his catalog, they will see that, you know, his voice really hasn't changed. And I don't mean just the depth of his voice, but I'm talking about the depth of his lyrics and the things that he cares about. So, well, it's what a pleasure for me. What an absolute honor for me to be even associated with Buju.
We're really excited to see what that collaboration and that you know, sort of synergy of what you guys bring together will create, because when those types of energies come together, it creates a new energy that is very powerful. So
well, I think I may have told him that I pride myself on my smile, but man, he beats me with a smile. He's got
he does have
a big toothy smile that I love.
I agree. Yeah. So, well, tell us how did it come about that you're working with them, and then tell us as much as you can about the new project and what can be expected.
Well, the request came in. He has a partnership with what he calls a fellowship with Rock Nation. And I think there were some amazing people at Rock Nation that sort of probably had in mind that they wanted to work with me. And my good friend, Jana Fleischman, basically teased me a little bit because she asked me to recommend if there's anybody I knew, and everybody I sent her, she kept turning it down. And she kept describing what they were looking for And every time she said one more thing, it almost sounded closer and closer to who I am. It was just a really great publicist that has worked with, you know, some successful artists. Okay, I have about 50 of those for you. And then it became, no. You know, someone who's worked with amazing artists that has been doing this for a long time. Okay, I got some more for you. No, someone that's worked with a lot of amazing artists, doing this for a while.
Oh,
from the Caribbean. I was like,
right.
Wow, I wish I could do this. You know,
all the boxes checked.
Give me 24 hours. Let me come back to you. Yeah, yeah. So it's been great, and Buju is signed to Island, and I want to say that there are some amazing women on Team Buju. There's amazing Jamaican sister Ronnie Tomlinson, who has been his publicist, did the tour and handles a lot of the Caribbean market. Everybody knows Ronnie. Love her. She was like my instant little sister immediately. I just kind of, you know, I was like, yeah. And then he has Bianca Edwards, who has this day-to-day marketing, and then he has Latrice, and she's from Island, and she's just the woman at Island. And Shari at Rock Nation, who is the co-president of Rock Nation, Shari Bryant. And so, you know, there are some, let me just say this. I am really happy to be in a group of these magnificent and fearless women working on behalf of Buju Banton, an amazing icon who has, I want to say, either 14 or 15 sisters, and raised by an amazing, hardworking woman, and has a real, you know, reverence for women. And it's just cool to be on this team. I'm not dissing our men. We've got some great men, you know, Omar and David and Lester, you know, and Edwin, who works with me, great man working on the Buju team. And of course, you know, the great men in Jamaica, you know, Donovan Germain and everybody. But it feels good. It feels good. You know, I've been to Kingston a couple of times now, and I had been to Jamaica before, Montego Bay, a lot of times. And so the first time I went to Kingston, Mr. Germain said, "It's your first time? Your first time in Jamaica?" I said, no. Been to Jamaica. I've been to yes, I've been to this. He's like, "Is this your first time in Kingston?" I said, "Yes, it's my first time." He said, "It's your first time in Jamaica."
I figured that's what you were gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kingstonians don't play, you know. So,
yeah. That's the truth.
Yeah, and then, you know, because of Buju, you know, we hosted a listening in Jamaica, and that was a Tough Gong studio. I mean, come on.
No, that's history.
You're walking into Tough Gong studio.
Yeah.
With Buju Banton, where Bob Marley, I can't. It was for this Caribbean girl. It was a prideful weekend. It was, I was so full of Caribbean pride and oneness with everybody. It just felt whole and beautiful. And you know, I was already committed for working hard for him, and seeing him in his element in Jamaica, and seeing and understanding, I'm not quite there yet, but learning who he is and learning more about his heart makes me want to work 10 times harder. Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's great when you have an artist that can feed you in that kind of way, because energy, again, upon energy creates a whole powerful energy source. So
absolutely,
that's amazing, and we're really looking forward to what comes from this. And I assume
a little bit is we we haven't announced the date yet, but the
Right.
album is called Upside Down 2020. I can tell you that.
All right, you heard it here. Right, Upside Down 2020. Well, we're really looking forward again, and keep us posted here at Temple. We want to be right there at the cutting edge.
we want tempo. We want
All
tempo.
right, yeah. You got Temple. You even
That's
got
right.
that. You
That's
got
right.
it in so many ways. Well, actually, that brings us to this point. I mean, we in terms of being a part of the family, folks might not know, but you agreed to join me and become an executive producer on Caribbean Dream, that amazing series that we're bringing forth, successful. And, you were the inaugural feature, and it was beautiful. We have 4 and so let me take a moment to welcome you to the family in that way.
Thank you. What an honor.
Yeah, we have a lot of plans, as you know, to bring forth the Caribbean Dream product. Of course, the pandemic kind of stops us in our
tracks. Oh my goodness.
But we're going to be bringing forth hopefully some really amazing stories of a lot of people that folks don't know they have Caribbean background as well.
Yeah.
But tell us how you feel about, participating with us and rocking with us in this way.
I mean, another big honor, to work closely with you, Rita, Phil, and the team, just to put, or I should say to extend the good work you've started all those years ago, over 15 years now, and to put a very well lit lens on Caribbean culture. And I believe that you've always had that narrative of one Caribbean. And so it's just I think it's actually much more important now what you're doing, because as we come back into whatever this new world that we imagine and work to execute, we need to take into consideration those very small places that have people with very, very big ambitions, that prior to the pandemic, we were not on an even playing field. And I hope that with the help of Tempo, that we get to shine a light on all of those islands and really tell the true story of it. And beyond that, to look at some of our American heroes and see their ties to the Caribbean, see what they loved about it, see the Caribbean minds that motivated and inspired some of our revolutionaries, some of the people who dared to be the ones that stood up. I always say, for you to truly have a lens on the world, you need to know a Caribbean person. We've all been colonized by somebody who left something there that we had to reimagine ourselves while cleaning out what they've left. And we have an incredible way of making do with what we were given, making do with what we have, planting 3 more seeds than they expect us to do, taking one plant and figuring out the 5 ways we could use it. We've always been genius that way. I think about the callaloo plant, not the callaloo in Jamaica, but the callaloo in the Eastern Caribbean. That is an upside down plant. You could use everything on that plant. You could use the leaves.
Pretty amazing.
And you can use the roots of it, just everything we can do with things. We've got an abundance of resources that we have not always been able to see multiply. And I think Tempo has a holistic way of looking at the Caribbean. Yes, of course, Carnival moves the needle. Yes, tourism moves the needle. But the people of the Caribbean, they are the greatest resource. And the children of the Caribbean are truly the future of the entire world. And we don't have to look far to figure out some of our greatest people had something to do with that region, Malcolm X, Maya Angelou, Sidney Poitier, the great Susan Taylor that ran Essence for so long, has Caribbean ties, stylist June Ambrose, I mean, how could we forget the great, Marcus Garvey, and then of course we talk about our musicians like Bob Marley and Jimmy Cliff and everybody that have been ambassadors. But then we haven't even gone into politics yet and talk about the prime ministers and the governors and the governor generals in the last 60, 70 days that have stepped up on the world stage, and showed the world what they can do to fight this pandemic. I'm Grenadian, so I'm gonna have to give big up to my Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell.
I know you. All of
Dr.
this
Keith
was leading
Mitchell.
up to that moment, right?
What?
I know.
I just want a T-shirt that says, Dr. Mitchell said, shut the borders down. No more planes, no more boats. Let's contain this thing, Yeah.
Indeed. Well, all I can say is
how the Caribbean has handled this and continue to handle it, and real proud of our people. Let me just say this one thing. We like standing on the corner. We like watching the neighbor go by. We like putting our head out of the window and smell what your pot is cooking. We are outside people. We are sun people. We are mountain people. We are beach people. We even love the rain because we know what the rain brings for our produce. We are
on a galvanized roof.
Yeah, we are outside people. Carnival, cook up, all of those things. We're outside people. But to listen and to say, you know what? Let me not lime today. Let me just be chill, And we are also huggable people and touchy people, Carnival is all about the hugs and the dancing and all of that. But, we have learned that in order for us to move on, we have to pause. And the music had to get turned down a little bit. But I think we're going to come through. And obviously, not everyone is smiling through this. My own family has been through a little bit of hell in this. We didn't lose anyone to COVID, but we did have a death in our family during this crisis, and it's a very difficult week for us because my family is getting ready after a month to say bye to a very beautiful woman that's a major part of our family, and there are hundreds and thousands of families affected by this. We know that there is a huge percentage of healthcare workers in New York City and the tri-state area who are Caribbean nationals. And this has hit them very hard in terms of their stress level and their being exposed. We have police officers from the Caribbean that have to keep on working, so our community has been hit really, really hard, certainly in the United States. And we have to pray for all of that. And we have to learn to be still in this chaos, in what I've stolen from my friend Bonsu to call the age of discomfort. It has become a very uncomfortable time. But I think as true Caribbean people, if we believe in kindness, if we believe in love, if we believe in tempo, meaning we're going to keep on moving, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this hopefully stronger. First, we're going to be a little weaker. Let's be honest about that. It's going to take away something from us. And then we have to build, because the best place to go when you are down, crouched down, is up. Is up.
That's true.
It's up.
You mentioned so much there that I can touch upon. It's insane. But that last point you made, Malcolm X said that it's after the deepest darkness, it's the greatest light.
The greatest.
So, yeah, that, and you know, Malcolm, as you know, his mom was a strong Grenadian.
Miss Little, yes, Mama Little, yes.
Yeah. So we know that we are going to go through some darkness here, but we are such a resilient people in the Caribbean. We've been through so much over our history, you know, and we've always been fighters.
Yeah.
You know, our house blows down, we just put up another one, you know, get some wood and knock up a house. And inside that house, which is the most amazing thing I find in the Caribbean and in parts of the world like us, is that we would find the wood, we would build that house, and in that house would be the biggest set of love that there is.
Absolutely.
Like, biggest love. It would feel like a mansion.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't feel poor, you wouldn't feel, it's just the greatest thing, you know.
As you have what you need. So, you have what you need to feed you, and that's love.
You have what you need. And yeah, so I want to take this moment as we're talking here to encourage those that are listening that that's who we are, and you need to be reminded of that. Sometimes we have to remember the resiliency that we have as a people. Hurricanes came, they blow our house down, we build them back, and
we build them back up.
Nutmeg was growing again.
Nutmeg is growing again. You know, the hard thing for Caribbean people is that, you know, during the hurricane season, it somehow have always segmented where it's going to hit. And it always gave other islands the opportunity to help other islands, you know, and now everybody's hit at the same time. So it makes us also vulnerable.
Okay, well, I just got a note from the technical people that this is going really well.
Oh, good.
That are looking, people are connecting with each other over this and connecting other people to the conversation.
Was all of it on Facebook, or it just started on Facebook when we?
No, it was all on Facebook at the same time.
From the beginning,
so it was on,
okay.
Yeah, from the beginning.
Oh, that's great. So I can go back to Facebook and look at that.
I would believe, I think that's exactly it. Well, we'll check with the technical folks, but I believe that to be the case. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
Okay. All right.
But it is great. You know, yeah. So I think for everyone who just heard your statements there, it's clear why this alliance between us, and it goes way, way back. Folks should know that I've known Yvette and the alliance that we're now creating, as you can see from her powerful voice and her understanding of the region, and the folks that know me around the region understand that we are connecting on a level that is just like almost perfectly aligned. So my words are her words are my words. so there's this energy again that is meeting here. That I believe comes at the right time, particularly, you know, during this pandemic and post-pandemic, to sort of guide us to building a better world for us here in the Caribbean. We do need the unity that Yvette talked about. We've come a long way in being unified, but we still have a long way to go in that. And that is as individual countries, we've accomplished so much, and we continue to do that. But collectively, the world really would be ours because, you know, when you could have two Nobel or Pulitzer Prize winning authors from a tiny island like St. Lucia, or you can have, you know, a guy that comes out of Jamaica that runs the fastest in the world, or you can have a guy that comes out of Trinidad and wins the Nobel Prize, or the guy that comes over. These are small
the guy that comes from Guam and Grenada, Karani James.
All right, I was leaving that one for you. I was leaving that one
called Mr. Killer.
Exactly. That made us the size of women happy with it, right? Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. What we're talking about.
You know what's I do want to mention something important about Mr. Killer.
Yeah.
You know, he has become quite a friend of mine. I really
Good.
love him. But
I take it for granted.
he's amazing. You know, I was saying that, you know, Allison Hines has so impressed me with how she manages to stay connected. But in Grenada, I think Mr. Killer has found the way.
Okay.
And it's not just with his art, you know, but he
back.
is doing it with his heart.
Yeah, give back.
You know, he is going through the villages and he's bringing food to the elderly and homebound as in homebound before we were all homebound, like people who literally can't go out. I just want to applaud that he's maintaining his status as our king. But he's really leading with his heart. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. Those are two very fine examples, and I've been seeing what Killer has been doing, and it really he's a shining beacon of what should be done in this situation. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all right. So we are I think at the about, I mean, you know, you and I could go for a good long time. We probably could finish the day. And I don't get the feeling that people wouldn't mind that. But let's I have two more topics, and then we will close.
Okay.
We talked quite a bit about the creative community, and we, you know, and a number of the other issues that are caused by the pandemic, and we touched on, and I think maybe more than touched on, the impact that it's going to have as our major industry in the Caribbean. We have to be concerned about that. So we are concerned. And I was speaking to a head of government the other day, and that particular government is looking at tourism as the lead industry to take us, you know, out of the economic situation that we find ourselves in. So it'll be the lead industry for the recovery. I have a couple theories. I happen to agree with that in a sense.
I'm not sure if I do.
Well, but that's why this conversation. Let's put a pin in that, and let's say that's the first question. Do you believe that to be the case? I believe that it definitely is, certainly on the top 5.
Absolutely.
And maybe, right, okay, so maybe it's not the number 1, and we'll talk about that.
I would actually say it's number 2 for now, but I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I'm cautious.
Okay, well then let's actually, before I go to the second question, then let me see what you got to say about that. What's the number 1?
So I think the number 1 is our produce or agriculture.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
I think that a number of us from the Caribbean have very easily walked into an organic market and bought things that are grown in our backyard in the Caribbean for an unbelievable amount of money, with our need and purpose to stay healthy and eat well. Okay. And I think there has been a reversal a little bit in the Caribbean, whether it's because we had to do well by the students who were studying in the Caribbean or not, but lots and lots of foods that we didn't grow up with started making its way to our shores.
That's true.
And I believe it has produced some unhealthy behaviors in us, and certainly has affected the health of a lot of people in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. Way too much salt, way too much processed foods, those kinds of things. And I think that if we turned our just for a minute while everything is coming back, to make sure that our soil is right and rich, and that we really subsidize the farmers so they can do the best they can, so that when we're in a position to, one, absolutely consume the food, but to be able to export, we will have an economy that, while on the same wavelength or tourism picks up could sustain us if any crisis happens. One, our people could eat, but it puts us on a competitive level for exporting. Mm-hmm. And that goes with everything from our fruits to our vegetables to our medicines. The Caribbean is filled with medicinal plants that we're not taking advantage of in terms of export. And I believe we need to do that. Now, the reason why I'm cautious about the hotel and tourism industry, and you know, there are some people who work for those departments in Grenada that have become my friends, and I'm so rooting for them. I'm rooting for my friends at Silver Sands to come back. You know, just before this pandemic, Sir Royston passed away, and so I am rooting for his family to be able to continue his legacy, a fantastic legacy of kindness, when kindness means hard work. And a number of hoteliers around the Caribbean that is based in family and legacy. But I'm just don't want us to rush it. I know we need that income, but I want us to be really, really safe, because we've had overall and relatively smaller numbers of infections and deaths in the Caribbean. And you know, praise to God on that, because our populations are so relatively smaller. So were we to have very, very high numbers, we can see
it would be devastating.
It would be just devastating for us.
Indeed.
But my concern is that if we have a very open conversation, a very honest conversation about that, we need to rely on people, tourists, visitors, who are coming from areas that were and are heavily infected. Measures have to be put in place to test and ascertain someone's health without violating their human rights before you let them back into the islands. And I certainly don't want to be sounding like certain people who are always about closing borders. We need to be free and go to different places for our minds, bodies, and souls, you know, for our experiences. So I am all about, please open up the borders, because I want to get to Grenada. And my priority now is to see every island before I die, every single island, and the ones that are island culture, but not really on the islands, you know, like Guyana and Suriname. But I want us to have measures in place. I haven't seen yet what the islands are planning to do when 150, 200, 300 people come on a plane. I will say this, I travel a lot, and I've traveled a lot to Africa. And I have been to countries in Africa where we got off the plane and we formed a line, and our temperatures were taken. The temperature was taken. I could definitely tell you that the last time I went to Burundi, my temperature was taken right off the plane. The kind that they just stick in your ear. And and said, okay, you know, and I don't know what would have happened if I had a fever. I might have been quarantined or whatever, but how do we get to that place of ascertaining that people are relatively healthy, and it has to be done all over the world? So you know, your temperature might have to be taken before you leave your own country, and then again when you enter that other country. And then that also means that the governments and the health ministers must have emergency quarantine in place for those people who developed a fever on the flight. What was perfectly okay when they left. People get sick on flights all the time. So I'm just saying, please, please let tourism come back. Please, please let me get on a plane. I didn't cancel my ticket home until last week. I was holding on with that ticket. But I just want us all to be very careful. I think we need to really take a page out of what New Zealand is going to do. That's a very, very, very big island. And you know how they managed to handle, I don't know, 5 million people. They have a huge number compared to some of the islands, but they were able to keep that number down because Jacinda Ardern, all hail to Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, who has very much been 1 and 2 for me. Between her and Dr. Mitchell, I was like, those two are just the leaders of the world for me. I think we got to pay attention to what they do. You know, how are they, when will they open their borders to neighboring places, first Australia, and then to all of us who are so far from them? How are they handling that? Yes, New Zealand does not have to rely so much on tourism the way the islands do. I just want us to approach with caution. And I know for sure I can count on my Prime Minister putting measures in place to make sure that the island remains safe. And I know that he's quite a leader in the region and that he will reach out to the rest of the prime ministers and governor generals to figure out how we going to do this, because don't forget, it's not just the international people who will be coming in from places that were heavily infected. You know, New York is a big thing for the Caribbean. England is a big thing for the Caribbean. You know, Spain, Italy, Germany. So we just have to make sure of that. But also we have to keep in mind that we don't know everything yet from the World Health Organization and CDC, and we're learning things every day. And I just want us to be really careful, because at what point also do we let LIAT and those, you know, regional airlines go from Antigua to Grenada and Trinidad to Grenada, and you know, and just make sure. But I have to say that when I went to Barbados and when I went to Jamaica, and that was a little while ago, I saw measures in place that I hadn't seen other places, and it was like the sanitizers and those kinds of gels and stuff were at the airports. And so the Caribbean was they seemed like they went into place very, very quickly on that. And I think that's going to become the norm. We're going to expect probably to be tested for our temperature, and we're probably expected to all travel with sanitizers and masks and all of that, so that we could be healthy again, not just as one island, but the whole island and the whole country and the whole world. Because we have to have new rules in place. And what are those rules? We don't know yet. So I just want to make sure that we are good, because you know the fear that people have when they go to travel in places that you don't know people, or you may or may not trust the medical system, and like, you know, you just don't want anybody to say, well, I went to Grenada and this is what happened. I went to Grenada to feel like sound. I want Jamaica to feel sound, St. Vincent and Barbados and all those islands to really put measures in place for the safety of those on the islands and those that will visit.
Right. Well, well said, because it is really a balance, right? So it's a balance of safety and economic recovery, and what is going to strike that balance, right? So I will tell you, I'll point out a few things. The Caribbean heads of government are looking to lift the ban on travel
within the Caribbean.
Within the Caribbean. Yeah, which is seems certainly like a sensible move, given the fact that the Caribbean has been, you know, very good at containment, and it seems like the right first step.
Yeah.
So yeah, so sometime I believe, and your PM, yes, my good friend as well, and I feel the same way about him. Is in leadership of that among the heads of government as well, and so I think that it's somewhere in June, and I believe the early part of June, Liat will be making those flights again in between.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
but we have to point out that the August carnivals are canceled.
Oh yeah. People, I think everybody knows that that's not going to happen. So it's really for people to get back to sort of trade. I think, right, in the islands, and really, quite frankly, for people to come home, because there's a lot of Caribbean people in other islands, and they want to come home and they couldn't come home and visit family and move around. So that goes back to the point of really creating an environment for ourselves that is sustainable, where we can stand upon our own. I think that that's really at the fundamental core of what we're really trying to say, and at the core of the principles of organization that I lead, is that we really have everything we need to be self-sufficient. We live in a global world, and we certainly want to be a part of that global and international world. But if we let's go back to food security, as you mentioned. If we go back to some form, inject some sense of urgency in building back our agricultural state, I think that would be a very good thing for us. We stepped away from that in a major way. And I believe that a lot of folks during this pandemic started to build gardens in their backyard. I'm here in Trinidad. My family here, my extended family here, they're big at going and catching the fish and cleaning the fish and frying the fish and then eating the fish. So we've done that. You know what I mean? We went to full scene, and there's nothing like that. That experience is something. And then you eat that fish and you play some cards and you laugh and and you have a good time with your family. And I've pulled cassava. Well, I didn't really pull it, but I went and I participated.
Yeah. You watch.
I watched, yeah. And I was a very encouraging participant. So I think I did my part. But Rita and her family here, they live down in the country, and that's even a different life than in the city.
In the city, yeah.
So it really, I agree with you. I think they work both hand in hand. So maybe there's not a 1 and 2. It's like they work hand in hand.
I think it is hand in hand. It has to be. It has to be. Because also, I would imagine that, certainly Sir Royston's hotel was all about eating from the soil, right? It's all about the organic things that are grown in Grenada.
That's right.
So, and I know Silver Sand is very big on that as well. So it could feed the hotels, so we just have to do that, because we don't know really when the exports will start coming. Exactly.
Absolutely. No, it's a very valid point, and I think we need to talk about that a lot and often. I will say though, on the come back to our island side of things, I believe that the role that Caribbean folks in the diaspora plays in that is going to be a huge one. And I have been encouraging ad nauseum tourism boards across the region ever since Temple was built to take a special look at this particular visitor. Take a special look at the Yvette Noel Schures across the world, right? The Frederick Mortons across the world. There are successful and very what should I say? Folks that want to be connected, Caribbean folks around the world that want to connect to home. They want to see an ad that is directed to them.
Exactly. I mean, I have to tell you this. If this keeps going while they figure out, and I notice that I can't go to Grenada for a while, I will be the most unhappy person in the entire world.
Right.
that will be very sad for me.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah.
and because it
We
also
didn't talk
means that
about
if I, well, it means if I can't go to Grenada, I can't go anywhere else, right? I can't
yeah.
go to
Well, that's
Trinidad, I
the
can't go to St. Lucia, I can't go to Jamaica, you know,
yeah,
it's just,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, it's
Yep,
sustenance.
yep.
It's sustenance.
It
Caribbean
is
travel is
sustenance.
sustenance,
It's
you know?
sustenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So I'm gonna continue, and I know with your assistance, we're gonna continue to talk to, some of the folks that influence tourism about the fact that we should really take a look at Caribbean nationals in the diaspora and figure out how to talk to us, so
Yeah.
that we can, be a part of that recovery. But Yvette, I will say that this has been really an amazing conversation. And from what I understand, a whole lot of people have been loving it. So
People
that's a good
what?
thing. And a whole lot of people have been loving this conversation.
Oh,
So
Philip, I have
yeah,
to be able to see it. Please tell Phil I have to be able to see
yeah,
this.
yeah. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure out how we can get this to you so you can see the impact. And we're gonna run it again and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
on the final question, and honestly, you're gonna be back, all right? So folks that are watching right now that are still on, Yvette is Temple family now. I mean, she's always been Temple family, but even more so now. We're gonna be a big part of ensuring that she visits every one of the Caribbean islands,
Yes.
as she
Yeah.
just said.
Hello.
And
That's the perk
yes,
of being associated with
yeah,
Tempo.
yeah. Indeed. We're gonna make it so. And so you're gonna see her again. In fact, we're going to be having a live with all of the dreamers that we've done so far, the Caribbean dreamers. And that would include Moana Lu from Essence Magazine, Chief
Yeah.
Content Creative Officer. She's from the beautiful island of Martinique.
Yep.
And it will also include our brother Neil
Neil.
Farina. Yes, indeed, celebrity hairstylist. He's from the beautiful island of Trinidad.
Yep.
And so we're going to be all on a live. I believe it's June 5th, but I might be wrong on that date. But we're going to get the promos out and everything. So we'll all be there talking. Yvette will be on that panel, and then she'll also be on several panels that we're going to have with industry leaders across the region. So this is the beginning of the conversation. This is really me
Great.
introducing her as part of the family and ensuring that, ensuring that you understand that this is not just an interview and then she's going to fly away and take care of Beyonce. This right. She is with us, for the long run. And so thank you. The final question I'll say is that you always talk about when we talk about your first act,
My first
and
act.
yes, your first act, and that and that you are right on the cusp of your second act, and you believe that your second act, and I happen to believe so too because I have some idea of where your second act is going, that your second act is going to be even more impactful, believe it or not, if possible, than your first act. Right. So tell us a little bit about your first act and how you feel about that and what you want for your second act.
Well, I feel happy, and I used to feel content, but I know that's not always the place to be. So you got to keep a little greed in you still, to set another goal, you know. When I was growing up, I don't think that I had that in me. I was okay to just make do. But I realized that there are so many layers to me. There's so many layers to you. There's so many layers to all of us. And we do not discover those layers until we experience something that brings them out. And, sometimes that's travel. Sometimes it's meeting someone that becomes your life partner. Sometimes it's having a child that pushes
Right.
you to be more loving and kind and tender. For me, I feel like the part one of me was not just being a publicist, or a magazine editor. It also had you know, becoming a partner, a wife, a mom, now a grandma, and that's really good. I don't want to lose any of those things. And an amazing extended family of amazing cousins and aunts and uncles, and a huge Grenada community in Brooklyn that I need for my survival. But I think that all my life, I feel that I am the happiest when I'm in front of people, when I'm in front of young people, when I'm able to give back, when I'm able to inspire, when I'm able to also to teach, but also to learn, to be quiet and still and take in other people's lives. I just thrive on what people's stories are. So part 2 for me is obviously wanting to be a part of Tempo and be able to help tell those stories, coupled with probably continuing my teaching. I teach at Berkeley. I need to stop saying I teach. I'm like a visiting lecturer. You know, but I think I want to make that a little bit more permanent. And then I get to do some philanthropic work with an amazing woman named Ivory McGregor. And she runs Be Good for Beyonce. And that's who I've been to Burundi with. You know, there was a water project there because there's water scarcity. And so the second part of Yvette, it needs to be a combination of an executive producer that tells great stories about Caribbean people, coupled with someone who teaches, you know, amazing minds to expand, to dream wide, you know, and then to also be that person that easily gives back. I love my travels to Africa. I love my travels to the Caribbean. I love my travels to South America. I love seeing little flat noses like mine. I always say I love seeing cheekbones like these. I love seeing the different faces and the different color in our skin that make us who we are, where we come from. And I love that, you know, we are made up of so many things. You know, we speak many languages, and we can take one item and do it 50 different ways in the Caribbean, you know. This is your junk, I'll show you what Grenadians do. You know, like everybody's got something really special. I want to tell stories. I wanted to tell stories about amazing people who have not been given the chance to tell their stories. And before I leave this world, I want to impress maybe just 3. It doesn't have to be 3,000 or 3 million. Just 3 girls, 3 young girls that look like me, to just enter a room, fully being themselves, saying, this is who I am, this is where I come from, this is what I'm made of, and you better get out of my way because this is where I'm going.
Right, absolutely. Because Yvette Noel Schure told me I could.
Because Yvette Noel Schure said I could. She said, girl, you better perk that little nose up, you better shine that little cheekbones up, and you better walk in. And you know what? If you're eating a coconut, that's fine.
Even better.
If that's what you love, that's fine.
Absolutely. Well, Yvette, that was beautiful, and a great way for us to sign off and to tell the folks that, you know, anything is really possible, because anything. That's what we're right.
And at any age. At any age. I just want to say this last thing.
Sure.
The actor Richard Lawson. I always want to call him Sir Richard Lawson because he's so regal.
Yes.
He happens to be a philanthropist. He just does well by young people in Los Angeles, and he just so happens to be married to one of my favorite people, Miss Tina Knowles Lawson.
Right.
And together they have this initiative, this foundation, Waco, where they give back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to quote him because he is a master of words, but he's a master that pushes you to push yourself. And this is what he always says.
Tell me.
Dreams do not have expiration dates. When he said that, I was like, get a pen and paper and write that down.
Right, of course.
The dream that I had at 8, you know, got polished and shine up at 18, got a little bit more polish at 28, at 38, at 48. Yep. In my 50s, I'm dreaming a different dream. And I don't want to stop dreaming. I don't want to stop dreaming about what this world could be, what our people could be, and what my tiniest of contributions with the biggest of purpose and intent could do to change the trajectory of young people. I always talk about the girls that look like me, but the boys that look like me too. They need to be pulled up too. We need to bring them all in, the boys and the girls, and to help them see themselves bigger than what they've done before.
I agree. Well, beautifully said. We agree in so many ways. It is at the foundation and the core principles of the organization that I've founded and has now been around for 15 years. That's exactly what we want to do. Awesome. So we are locked in, and the target is clear. And I love how you said, that dreams. I mean, I thank you for sharing that quote. That dreams have no expiration date, because a lot of folks, and again, we spend some time a lot of time with the creative community, and I guess we can end that way too, because a lot of the creative community, give up after a certain age.
They want to retire you after a certain age. As soon as you start having some laugh lines,
That's right.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah,
we can't do that.
Absolutely. So we want to encourage the creative community to keep pushing. It is a challenging world that you're in.
Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Creative people were blessed with a special gift from God, and they just got to keep pushing. They got to keep pushing. They are the ones that push us, educate us, entertain us, elevate us. We need you. It's hard right now, but keep pushing. Just keep pushing. Keep writing it down. Keep recording it into your phone, into your voice notes. Tell somebody in your family, write it down so they remember you said that before you could get the pen and paper. Just keep going. Just keep going.
That's right. And keep your tempo up.
Keep your tempo up.
All right. Yvette, listen, it's been a pleasure. We can talk again very soon.
Pleasure for me. Thank you.
Yeah, we put bricks on this building and we've laid such a deep foundation that we know we're going to have a strong building as we
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, so you continue to stay, continue to be beautiful.
You too.
And spread that gift out, everyone. Thank you so much.
You too. Right. And this is for Arita.
Hey, Arita, you got that big hug. All right.
That's right. All right.
From ear to ear. All right. Fantastic.
All right. Bye.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Love.
Thank you. Much love.
Look at that.